All right, let's get started on the election 2021 wrap up. Welcome to American Black Journal, Greg Bowens, Brandon Brice, and Kerry Leon Jackson. Great to see you guys.
Good to see you.
How are you?
All right, let's start with, I think, the biggest news in Detroit, in the Detroit elections. You have Mayor Mike Duggan elected to a third term, only the second mayor in the city's entire history to be elected 3 times. At the same time, City Council saw major changes. We'll have somewhere on the order of 6 new members on council. That could create a really interesting dynamic. Greg, I'm going to start with you. What do you make of those 2 results?
Well, I think it's really interesting. No one expected Mike Duggan to lose, a third term here. I guess more people were surprised that he would want to do it, given the kind of challenges that he's had in the past with a pandemic and the land bank and all that stuff. So the fact that he has been reinvigorated, as it were, to take on a third term is, I think, is probably the most surprising thing. The other thing is that with City Council, you have all these new members, and I said the big elephant in the room was corruption, and the idea that people seem like that they were kind of tired of the same old downtown when it came to City Council. And we got to see how this is going to stand. Now, Stephen, you know that one of the things that the mayor loves to do, and that seems to hang over everybody's head, is the state and state finances. Mm-hmm. And so whenever people push back on a plan that has to do with the budget or anything like that, they pull out the big hammer of, well, the state is still watching, so you might want to be careful here and just do the thing that we laid out. So I'm not so sure that we're going to have as much of an activist council as we would otherwise have with that kind of thing hanging in the background.
Yeah. You've also got, the mayor with $800 million in his pocket that nobody could have predicted that he would have. I can't remember any mayor in this city ever starting out any term with that kind of financial advantage. That gives him some leverage, I think, with the new council members who will be eager to show their constituents that they can deliver. You can't deliver without cash, Brandon Brice.
Well, the reality is, 20 years ago, you could probably win the mayor of Detroit race with 300,000 or 400,000. The game has changed. It costs to be the boss. It costs to run a major campaign, especially against a guy who, let's be honest, has a very close relationship with probably one of the wealthiest people in the state. That is Dan Gilbert. And so I think, looking at the Anthony Adams challenge, I think he had a couple challenges going in. One, regardless of all of the scandals and issues, people still like Mike Duggan. And they look at him as a man who delivers. The other part is that this is a guy who, I think, if I'm Anthony Adams, it was really about a ground game. And it was also, we're going to be fair, it was also the fact that the media, that's you, Steve, I like you, but I got to call you out. The media picked this candidate. Even looking at something as simple as a debate, one debate didn't happen. And so I don't think that was, that was really fair to a lot of Detroit voters. And unfortunately, as we saw, I think most people knew the mayor was going to win, but not by this big margin.
Yeah. So, I agree with you about the debate. And I actually twice got after the mayor when we were having conversations on air about it, about how unfair I thought it was and how disrespectful, in fact, I thought it was of Detroit voters who might want to vote for somebody other than him. I think everybody deserves that chance to see their candidates, square off. I actually don't think that's the media's fault in totality. The mayor didn't want to do it, and there is no mechanism to force him to do it. I have been trying for about a decade, in fact, to get an independent debate commission started in the state of Michigan that would at least handle debates for statewide and probably in Detroit. The media is one hurdle to that, but the parties are hurdles to it too. Everybody likes to have that control in their own camp. And nobody's willing to give it up for the public good. But I absolutely agree with you that there should have been a debate. There should be a debate every time. And the fact that the mayor wouldn't debate Anthony Adams, who by the way is one of the most qualified people to ever run, at least on paper, for the mayor of Detroit. How do you distinguish not debating him from debating Benny Napoleon? Again, a qualified candidate, but equal really to Anthony Adams and Coleman Young, the second, who he also had a debate with. So yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. I don't think that was fair. I'm not sure it would have made a difference, but it would have at least given voters a real sense of what was going on. Kerry, what do you make of this idea of a white guy from Livonia winning for mayor 3 times in the city of Detroit when he takes office on January 1st of 2022? He will be the second longest serving mayor in the city's history. I never would have seen this coming.
I'm pretty sure that when he moved in from Livonia and filed, he didn't see it coming either. But the truth is, there are quite a lot of Detroiters, apparently 69,000 Detroiters, who are very, very, very happy with what they see going on in the city. Whether they believe, whether he actually had anything to do with the improvements in the city or not, doesn't really matter to them. They voted based on what they see right now. And you're right. I've known Anthony Adams for almost 30 years. He's one of the most qualified, but I got to tell you, and I've said this probably a dozen times, if I was running Duggan's campaign, I would have said the same thing. You're not about to debate him, because if you debate him, he's going to make you look bad on the stage. So there's no real reason to debate him. And you're right. Parties and candidates don't want to have to go into a fight. Nobody really ever predicted this sort of a fight, but a candidate, a mayor that's had all of the challenges that he's had with somebody who actually would be pretty good at debating, he would have eaten him up on the stage. So there was no real reason for him to debate him. And instead of him winning by 55%, he won by 75% of the vote. So it was just, he did the right thing. Yeah. Whether we all agree with it or not, in this one case, he did the right thing.
Yeah, he did the right thing for him and his campaign, no question.
Right.
I keep saying that the question needs to be what's right for voters, and in order to get to that, we gotta take that power away, I think, from candidates themselves. Greg, I want to talk also about the proposals that we had on the ballot.
Oh yeah.
In Detroit, some really interesting ones. Proposal R and I think it was Proposal E, which was the mushroom ordinance. Proposal R was reparations. Those both passed with no problem at all. I mean, some of the largest margins I've seen. Proposal S, which would have given citizens a little more say in government spending, was not successful. I was a little surprised. I mean, you don't see voters turn down proposals a whole lot in Detroit. It's only happened a few times recently. What was it about Proposal S that couldn't drag it across the line the way R and E seem to have such an easy time with?
You know, I was working the polls. I was out there talking to people and stuff like that, and most people weren't even really aware of the proposals. The only thing that I can surmise is the reason why S didn't pass was because of money. And money is tied to corruption and the feeling of corruption that people have out there. Do they really want to have people to have the opportunity to play with more money when we're seeing so many people get caught up, playing with money when it comes to towing and, the firefighter fund and all this stuff. And so I think that's a pretty big underlying current that is out there, and it may have factored when it came to Proposal S. I mean, our reparations, hey, brother, give me my money.
We like money when it's coming this way.
Right.
Maybe don't like it when it's going the other way.
Well, I mean, and the 800 million that you were referencing, is that the number you're talking about in relationship to the federal money that's coming?
That's the ARPA funds. Yeah. $800 million.
That's huge. And given the corruption that has occurred and the specter of corruption that has occurred, you got to wonder how things are going to shake out with almost $1 billion, at the mayor's disposal. I mean, this is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know that we've seen anything quite like that opportunity. Brandon, I'm curious about your reaction to the passage of Proposal R. You and I have talked in the past about the issue of of reparations and how that ought to work. What do you think of the idea of making it so local? In other words, just having the city of Detroit sit down and think about what it might owe African Americans who were the victims of discrimination.
Well, let's even go before that to COVID. I mean, we've got $300,000 of the city's money that's still missing. And so, one of the biggest challenges is, but my question is always, I'm for it, but what does that look like? And so are we talking about, and I think this goes back to the mayor's issue that I know Anthony Adams had brought up. Did we really talk about subcontract agreements for local Detroiters, or getting them involved in the changing economy in Detroit? Here's a couple facts. Detroit is changing. The question is it changing for actual people who live there and Detroiters? And that's the big question mark right now, is that, what does reparations look like, and who's going to actually be the one to give it and push it out?
Kerry, what do you think about this commission to study reparations in the city of Detroit? They say they want to look at things like housing and jobs. I think we can all think of instances in which African Americans in the past were certainly left behind on opportunities. We can certainly also think of instances still in the present where that happens. Is this something that could work on a local level to fix those things and come up with some kind of recompense for people who didn't get what they should have?
Well, let me answer your earlier question. And what's the difference in the two proposals, why one passed and one didn't?
Mm-hmm.
It was the open opposition from the mayor and Conrad Mallett to the proposal that didn't. Mm-hmm. They definitely, the attorney Todd Russell Perkins, who was behind the proposal, said twice on my show that he had gotten quite a lot of feedback, and that the mayor's office had said they were for the city council proposal, but not for his proposal. Mm-hmm. And that's the word that they sent to their voters who they turned out. It was a heavy hurdle for him to try and get over, fighting against the mayor. And we see what happened. The mayor won 75%, and the mayor's proposal, the mayor's choice in proposals passed, and the one that he opposed didn't. Is it time for, I think that it's, at least Detroit can do what Evanston did, what Evanston, Illinois has done, except Evanston's a much smaller city. Mm-hmm. And it was easier to identify which families they had discriminated against and taken their property. How are we going to figure out the real families that were discriminated against in the city of Detroit and what property was taken, so that we can figure out a way to put a dollar value on it? There's going to be a lot more work that has to be done, but is it time that different cities, different institutions such as colleges and large, Fortune 500 corporations, is it time for them to draw the line and say how much money we made off the back of Black folks? Yes. Can it actually wind up coming to the point where there's a dollar amount? I think we've got people smart enough, we can figure out how much money we've got to pay to those folks that we did wrong, that our country did wrong.
Yeah. We don't have much time left, but Greg, I want to ask you specifically about Janae Ayers, who was the first finisher in the primary for city council at large. Then the FBI raided her office and her home, and she finishes outside the top two for the general. I have never seen something like that happen in Detroit politics, that kind of direct effect of the specter, not even an actual announcement of, but just the specter of a criminal investigation. Was she done wrong here?
I had told her, and I still believe, that she should have gotten out there earlier to address this issue, as it unfolded. I mean, voters are forgiving by and large, particularly Black voters when it comes to Black folks. We tend to give people the benefit of the doubt because we know how the criminal justice system has unfairly targeted people. And so, there was an opportunity for her to do the same thing. Now, being quiet, and, I know my man is a lawyer, and, lawyers like to say, don't say nothing.
Keep your mouth shut, right?
Right, but in this kind of situation, standing up in some kind of way and proclaiming your innocence, I think would have been helpful. And, curiously enough, Mary Waters, she got the benefit of the doubt, even though she had taken a plea to a misdemeanor for accepting that Rolex watch and got convicted. Yeah. So, folks were willing to forgive her past transgression, as it were. And I think they would have done the same for Janae, but she didn't. And she had the bully pulpit. That was the interesting part. she had the power of incumbency on her side,
Yeah.
and she didn't take advantage of it.
Yeah. Kerry, you are a lawyer. If Janae had been your client, would you have told her to come out and say something, or would you have said, listen, the jeopardy that you face from anything you saying publicly being used against you in a criminal action is just too much? What would you have advised her?
Well, Stephen, you said you haven't seen this happen before. And there's a reason that the Justice Department has a very specific rule that says we don't do this during an election time.
Right.
Because this is what's going to happen. And in this case, it happened. But unfortunately, when they break that rule and hold a press conference on the steps of the city hall and say corruption, 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 it shifts the burden from they broke the rule to now you've got to push back. You don't have a choice. You've got to, if you're running for office and you want to win, you've got to go in front of the cameras and say, I didn't do anything wrong. And they think that I did or something like that. Whatever she's got to say, she should have said it. Now she didn't. And now we see what happened. All
right. That's all the time we have. Of course, we could go all day with all of these issues with the three of you. But Greg Bowens, Brendan Brice, and Kerry Leon Jackson, thanks for being here. And we'll look forward to more craziness in Detroit politics as these folks take office. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right.